مزحو قليل أس لحق نتي أزف مرقر قليل. And what are your impressions? Or
well, I last mentioned the I just felt like a major discovery is emerging. It's the works, the energetic works, can help it along, and completion of that, I feel like a new day is ahead. Seeing is believing, but sometimes seeing is a facade. There's that facade again. Repeating things. I feel like a repeating of some particular work is important. Opening up the energy exchanges, like working together, opening up this flow of energy, like puzzle pieces falling into place.
And so you see, maybe not so clearly, but if you look closely, you can tell that there are 7 candles there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the number that has been chosen for the seasonal. And
I really like those colors, especially that teal color.
so we have candles that are beeswax.
Mm-hmm.
And them being shaped like honeycombs is not, that's completely artificial, of course. I mean, why do they feel like every they sell beeswax? Well, I guess they don't have to have as much wax. That's got to be why, right?
Right.
But aside from those considerations, so see, we have, this is my first seasonal of the year that I typically bring flowers or something if that's available, because like the Imulk one, sometimes there's purple flowers, sometimes there's not, sometimes it only starts after that. So like after the seasonal, then stuff happens, which is sort of the reason why these dramas, right?
Right.
Is it connects to that stuff. So there's, the candle holders, the ones that have the 3 of them that are, those 3 white ones are based in roses. The other 2 are brass. And that in the green reminds you of the whole Ashtaroth and perhaps even the Lilith thing. Lilith particularly with the red. But red, white, and black are present in the not just in the, let me make sure, the the altarpiece. But red, white, and black are also present in a candlestick holder, and the thing that has that bay candle. That that candle has been so soft that it just hasn't maintained its shape, because moving it back and forth has knocked pieces of it off. But I think it still has a nice aesthetic to it.
Yeah, it does.
And it has that tripod thing going on. So what are numbers? Oh, that's pretty good. I opened right to one of the first things. So Numbers 21, 2-3. Then Israel has made a vow to. It doesn't say the Lord. Almost every time when it says the Lord in these Bibles, it's like, why are they so afraid to say God as a verb and noun? It's probably because they formed this tradition, and you obey the tradition rather than the source. But that's how you become flexible, is you actually figure out what the source is and figure out what you're going to do with it. And said, if you deliver the people into our hands, we will prescribe their towns. increasing existence, heeded Israel's plea and delivered the Canaanites, and they and their cities were proscribed, so that the place was called Hormah. Oh, is that a ch? Churma. Okay.
Speaking of that,
But
figuring
see
out
that this idea.
um,
Well, I guess they only went to battle when they were guaranteed victory or something, rather than it being like the right thing to begin with, right? But remember, that was one of the things in the Bible. You have these people. It's like, well, why don't you and Moses go fight for us? Why doesn't God go do the fight for us? It's like, that's obviously not how it works.
Right.
And if something's to be done, you got to go off and do it yourself. But because what would typically happen in a situation like that? No knowledge whatsoever. Just, oh no, yeah, we swear, deity has promised us. And so if things aren't done perfectly by the army, they're always told, oh well, the promise is not binding because of they play that game. No, you must prescribe them, the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hittites and the Jebusites, as God is a verb and noun. Your God has prescribed for you. Okay, what's the exact wording there? So 2017 from Deuteronomy. But the idea that you just have to conquer all your neighbors. What okay. So it's Yahweh al-Hik. So God is a verb and noun, the power that has tamed you or subdued you. Because that's not what a lion does. The lion may have its own territory or something like that, but it doesn't just go hunting, because there's other people out there.
When you mentioned the figuring out the source, that brings back to where not long ago I had I saw the earth, I guess you could say it, the earth, and then the three realms, and then I saw like the beyond, and there was like, I don't know if you could call it a black star or a black source, but it was beyond the third realm, and this is where energy was coming and going, but it was like so intense. And there is a within.
Oh, this relates to the symbol that you've.
There is a yeah, and where there is a within, but that within is contained a little, but the source is where all is from. But yeah, that's definitely relating to the symbol. Yeah.
And so Joshua 20, verse 20 of chapter 6. So the people shouted when the horns were sounded. When the people heard the sound of the horns, the people raised a mighty shout, and the wall collapsed. And the people rushed into the city, every man straight in front of them, and they captured the city. And before that, we had 17. The city and everything in it are to be prescribed for the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot is to be spared, and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers we sent. Now, as much as the story of who Rahab was, an interesting thing about that is that scarlet thread thing. It's became in sort of there's never one Judaism, whatever, but it's become sort of a thing like an amuletic power, whatever. But in a way, it's kind of like a hint at something, right? Because the Yazidi, as we call them now, they are back then, but it actually goes back before that, because Zarathustra talked about this group of people, and it's clear who they are. And the Avestan language, Yazidi, that's where the whole thing comes from. But it would have been before that. But anyways, they wear red turbans.
Mhm.
They wear red turbans, and they do other stuff with red that other people in the region don't
Mhm.
do. And they don't do things that the other people will do, like all this wearing of blue thread and blue things in
Mhm.
the doorway and purple and all that. They don't do that. But sort of a sign of alliance. That's as much as important thing as anything. And let me load the right file here so I can see here. 1 Samuel. One of the tricky things, the Christians rearranged the Bible in order to make a point. Like they have the books. They divide the book, some of the books into two, and they have some of the books that so they're having a point, because Chronicles is the last book in Tonic, but it's the last book is Micah, so they're working towards a different effect. Okay, 1 Samuel 11, 12. Okay. The people then said to Samuel, who it is said, shall Saul be king over us? Hand men over, and we will put them to death. And next verse, and then Saul replied, no man shall be put to death his day, for this day the Lord has sought victory to Israel. Yeah, of course, it's not always the point, right? To just, now that we've dealt with our outside enemies, how about we have more political violence so we have more power, right?
Right.
That just makes it so it's easier for the outside enemies to attack.
Right.
Because you know what happened with the colonial powers. It's not that guns, germs, and steel, and that was like some sort of absolute. What happened was that they waited until the Muslims and other peoples were like, they weren't honest, and they fought in the marketplace and stuff like this, and it's like, yes, now it's the time for us to invade. But when they get along, they didn't want to chance it. Literally, the English and stuff like this weren't like this superpower that could just conquer everybody at will. They waited till they found the opportunity that the people were divided enough to conquer them.
Technique.
So sometimes they went back, some generations they would conquer these people, and other generations other people, because they were just waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah, it says that
because why chance it, right?
Right. Right.
So 1 Samuel 15, 2 and 3, thus said God is a verb and noun as of host. I'm exacting the penalty for what Amalek did to Israel, for the assault we made upon them on the road on their way up from Egypt. Now go attack Amalek and prescribe all that belongs to him. Spare no one, but kill alike men and women, infants and sucklings, oxen and sheep, camels and donkeys. And there's this high road claimed morally, but I see that other people don't do that. You fight the people that are fighting you, and there's some sort of respect. You'd obviously want to win the battle, but you just go after men, women, camels. The guy has a horse. Let's kill his horse. Well, he may be dead, may not be able to know that we killed his horse, but we're just killing his horse for. It's like, really?
Definitely way too much killing in the world. It's like that's almost what it's about.
And when the world became more secular, and they didn't have this spiritual consciousness, because what happens, you got this red, and the red goes through. You do see in these dog tags the symbol, but if it's like on a flag or something, that's in red. And the red is, so there's this thing that goes through you, and you are the means for the 666 force. So it's but okay. What do I say? 18, 7 and 8. The women sang as they danced, and they chanted, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. And Saul was very much distressed and vexed about the matter, and said, for he said to David, they have given tens of thousands, and to me they have given thousands. All he lacks is kingship. And That's of course one of the things they do, like in sports. Like you've seen that somebody scores the final point, or somebody
Mhm.
makes the final mistake, and it's
Mhm.
like the whole thing is put on their back, good or bad.
Right.
It almost makes you not what you know.
Right. Right.
And 21:11, that day David continued on his flight from Saul and came to the king of Achish of Gath. The courtiers of Achish said to him, we're in verse 12 now, why, that's David, king of the land. That's the one of them whom they sing as they dance. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. Now, give some context to that before I say this final verse of what I've selected as um, the known mythological themes to tie into this.
Okay.
They would have this method of fighting, and they'd have little skirmishes beforehand. They'd like
Mhm.
have many fights go on,
Mhm.
and I guess the idea was that you know there were there were three Goliaths in the Bible, by the way. So, but that's not actually a contradiction. It's like the Goliath is this time and that battle and that battle. It's like
Mhm.
the big old galoot. That's it's not really the usually there's anyways. So what is it? 29. Oh, I'm in the second Samuel. Yeah, these
It's
little pages. I don't. Is it just because the book's so big that they put these little? You know, what I'm talking about. They put those tissue paper sort of pages. This
oh
isn't as
yeah.
bad as other people. I mean,
Yeah.
other sources, but okay. So
But not
29:5. It's the same thing. Remember, he is the David of whom they sang as they dance. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. And so then Achish goes on, and he's trying to he's trying to recruit David, because he's like, David's such a good fighter that he's going to intimidate to the point where people are not going to know what went on with the thing. And so what's the to reiterate the formula? Might as well go over it a third time.
Mhm.
So for each of the programs,
Okay.
with deep breaths, we plunge into the repeated actions that level the playing field. We open ourselves up in the exchange. It's where we didn't yield. The spirits of darkness watch the child brought where shadow meets light. The distinguishing features have been shown from the night. Suggestions direct guilt, shame, and pride. To no longer be bound by the stars will make it all right. Gazing at the crystal orb, our real world deeds manifest our eternal might. It's always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when all change. I guess when the time is right. I'm a pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. She of red and beady black eyes may rise in the time of catalyst. It is as if the sounds and vision is simply all of the demons. What is your decision? I search for someone to relate to me. When I get slightly calm, I see. Visionary experience precedes the physical. which exceeds the learning and training of the quest, trying not to get caught, but the AI got him for passing on the mocking. Was it worth it to battle with instead of against? The flames arise and lightning blades descended, already for the demon. The fuzz and nothing enlightens when we know how and what must really be done. We will be completing what has already begun. It shall not be for them to have you caught for what is wrought, following the lines of energy resulting from how you've fought, discordant, magnificent, shaped and upon what was truly sought. And 2:24 p.m. Pacific time, I believe. So 5:24 in East Coast, Central 4:24, Mountain 1:24, right? Monday, March 20th, 2023. That's the Equinox. So the verses from the Quran, we had Surah 2, 180, Surah 2, ayat 178 and 191, Surah 4, 29, 30 and 93, 5, 27 to 32 and 45, 6, 140 and 151, 17, 31 and 33, and previously we had the reference to Luke, is that 29, 16 and 17, and 20:16, Matthew 26 verses 4 and 31, Acts 5, 30 and 9:29, 1 Thessalonians 2, 8 to 15, Revelation 6 to verse 11, and 17:6. And so what are your thoughts here?
I'm thinking there's just so much destruction in the places that shouldn't be destruction. Not always, but and so too much destruction where it don't need to be, and not enough in where it should be. Of sorts.
Because it's it shouldn't be something of mere passion, and it shouldn't be senseless either.
Right.
Like I remember, like, okay, I don't know what they were gonna do, like, right? Someone didn't like my content, and they showed up in the middle of the night with someone.
Mm.
And this was years ago, and
Wow.
the way I felt, it took me time to call the police, or to allow that to be brought into the situation, because when I felt like that, I had to cool down before even dealing with that, because
Right.
you know how some of those people can be, and you don't want to be charged up and depersonalized. Like it was weird. My hand on the person's face, it wasn't like I was even moving out a human, to keep a human from breaking. It was like it was just it was flesh, but it was like mechanical, and it's like that thing where, like, you see red. It's not that it obscures your vision or something. It's like something's with you or something. But it's not like, I didn't start things, and again, it's not for them to catch you. So it's, if you're just, some person who just gets in fights with everybody everywhere, and now sometimes people pick out someone, say, oh, this person could be a victim or something, but in general, it's, that's just not the person to take part in that sort of thing. But then, and then in a sense, because it like I didn't the first attempt on my life, I didn't per se have the tools to deal with it. But what did I feel like? I've just felt like going off alone and sitting in the dark and all that. But once there's a sacred thing to it. But once you start living a spiritual life instead of like just going to church or something like that, and or believing in it's like when I say these things, I'm not saying that I believe in the in the clergy or something like that, or I believe exactly everything that's ever related. Because as I said, it's like, really, those who do not bring me, Lord, bring them here so I can watch you kill them.
Right.
That's a level of insecurity right there, isn't it?
Definitely.
And what we we don't really know. And see, that's the thing. I'm going to try again. I'm going to see what this guy has to say or something. But because I think there's more to this Bryan Kohberger story. I really do think there's more to it than when we know, because for years, he'd make these little posts, and so he was having an experience. Because some people they think that some people get all stupid. They think like, if we do a ritual sacrifice, we'll become a really rich and famous rock band. There's even been a couple cases where people have tried.
Wow.
And of course they get caught by the police, right? Because they're just um you don't have to be that rich and if you can play your instruments and play a few shows at bars, you're not going to have whatever. But the
Definitely misguided people.
but they've
Yeah.
yeah, people just think that that's just the thing. But of course there's the in this society, at some point, everyone's going to have to probably defend yourself, at least one point in life or something, and that's something you can draw the attention into. I, not seeking it out, because this one guy, he keeps saying, it's like, no, you don't basically, from your car when you park in front of your home, show people on your video the path to your favorite restaurant, and say, hey, just leave my wife and kids out of it, and we can fight. It's like, some people aren't going to leave them out of it, though.
Right.
And really,
Right.
just
Yeah.
because you've reached middle age or beyond or whatever, doesn't mean that it's time for you to fight to your death before things get bad, and everybody's going to fight to their death, and no one's going to remember you fighting to your death.
Right. That's definitely an unsettling time. But maybe the
But
world is open.
that's the thing too, that this clandestine thing. I think one of it's like, maybe this guy did get like a bunch of people first, but what happens? It's okay. You nabbed a bunch of people first, but you wanted to do the thing like Bundy and a bunch of other people did and kill a group of people, and it's like everybody's going to know now that you hit up the sorority house or whatever. It's like, and the guy was at parties there before, which actually gives him, he may actually get off on this, because it's like they didn't catch him the normal way. They caught him with the AI. There's just absolutely no way the police saw him go back to the crime scene the same day and followed him home and watched him take out trash and dump these things that they thought was suspicious and possibly could prove that he killed the person, and just let him sit on it for a few weeks, right? I'm not sure how long it was, and went and didn't even think to dig out. They would have called a search if they had a suspect for a murder dropping things in the forest. They would have had us. They would have spent $1,000 to have them search or something like that. They would have had a whole team of people out there searching.
Definitely. Yeah.
So it's just the guy who said stuff online, and it went from there. And but well, so again, about the clandestine thing, one of the things is that the tools on hand are the tools on hand. Now, these sorts of like the tags and stuff, these are nice little talismanic touch, but it's not like when something has to be done, it's not like you're signing something. Now, last year in particular, I told you there's this creature, and I think there's at least a couple of them out here or something that I've never seen, and I've only seen it with the Satanic Front and with the Temple of Bloodwork. There's something shared between those currents, and one of them there's like this sort of entity. And see, I don't know how things are, the visionary side of working and connecting, the personal myth making. See, so you have some general ideas. You do want to get in sort of a physical shape, charge yourself up with music or with exercise or whatnot beforehand, and then you approach the ritual.
Right.
But I got this personal myth making thing going on, and this is what I do with these grimoires. Is I work together my own poem based on stuff that I read about the seasons and the specific themes and the books and stuff that are moving into it, and then I get more standard mythological things and I work them together and I try to experience them in a way. But one of the things that's happened, see, I'll cover all sorts of subjects. So why these ones? There's a creature, and this creature is like a wolf, it's like a bear, it's like a deer or cow, it's like a machine, it's like something wood. It's like all at once, some like fierce, big old creature. One of the neighbor kids calls it he's seen it too. He hasn't been allowed to. He hasn't been allowed to join in my rituals. But what's the thing? He knows I'm setting up that little I have that temple being set up, and Canaanite altars and stuff like that. It's going to be a cool thing. And then I'm going to build this, egregor with it over time. But I don't work in a way like that's the problem with the Golden Dawn stuff. Oh, we're down to a few minutes here, so when this shuts off there. The Golden Dawn stuff is like this idea that you just call up spirits and it's like, let me draw some pentagrams and stuff, and then you're gone. When I do a pentagram right, it's not, oh, that thing that I came in earlier when I traced it the other way, I want you to go. I don't want anything to do with you now that you're done. It's just disrespectful, right? If you're going to involve yourself in these things, if you're going to connect these mythological areas, at least it doesn't do something in you. The Church of Hermetic Sciences, one of the things that I like they seem to do is they seem to balance. It's like the Solomon magic. You don't just, they form a balancing between the thing rather than this weird thing where even with the same objects, even you're calling up one thing that's the enemy of the other thing, and then you're treating it like it's the enemy of the other thing, but you're working them separately. I just, something's off with that to me.
Right.
And
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about the you were talking about the like the animal creature or wolf. That's where the shadowy figure has it. It just keeps saying shadowy figure.
But my Austera or Spring Equinox, and my other one from last year, I specifically said, it's like, yeah, I met this creature. I met this creature, and it came. One time it came from the sky, the other time it came from the ground, I think. And it just came and joined me. And the funny thing is when it showed up, it chased away the other animals in the forest. I mean, not maybe it didn't chase it away, but you know what I mean. The other animals like left. You could hear the deer and other stuff that were there just leave when that thing showed up.
It feels like that thing from it was tall as a star, and it can be different sizes.
Well, the thing with some of these things, it's like sometimes you have something giant, and then it will just decide, okay, I'm going to dwell. You got this. Well, that's something that happens sometimes. Sometimes it's not that you're constraining a spirit into whatever that's like kind of it's like if you don't want to go to prison, why would you want to even combine somebody in something a being in something smaller than that? That's just not cool, man. But the you know, you got sometimes you'll have an experience, and this being will just set itself. You know, it will be all big, or maybe you fill the room, but then again, it will condense.
Yeah.
Condense and set itself inside your stone, and you kind of know, like every time. Like sometimes, like I have a couple of stones that if I touch them, even 20 years later, this one stone, it's like there's still something connected there or in there or something.
Yeah, it feels different than the others.
And when I do a ritual, I can remember the experience and connected the stones. Now that's of course one of the temptations. It's like these two stones. You know, anything that's satanic front is not order of 9 angles, but some of it's related. Like I think you may see that infernal obelisk was talking about an entity that you really don't see mentioned outside of order of 9 angles, but anything related to that, I mean, I use that in my seasonal sort of 4-pointed stone here. But you know, if I have an and this of course is my Grimorium Verum one that I use with those rites. I don't know what to do with this thing that reminds me of a tooth. I just have it there. At some point I'll find a use for it, but it's a temptation, you could say, like have this huge collection that's just one experience, one entity, one stone, and then you have people filled entire the rooms, but and you certainly want to remember it if you're going to do that, but you know, really you don't need too much. You don't need too much. A couple bucks stone, you know, paint glass, you know, paint some glass black, do all that sort of stuff. But you want to be able to scry on anything. If you want to be clandestine, you got to be able to do it without tools that people are going to recognize as tools. If you got a pocket knife, most places have laws about that. You don't want to serve time over a pocket knife, so you kind of do want to regard that sort of stuff.
Cell phone screen when the cell phone is off, or
but and me, I'm building up a little collection of wood slices and whatnot that I've got from the wood pile and stuff like that I've cut off pieces from the logs of the wood pile and whatnot.
I'm keeping mine too. I found the old. My original.
And it's going to be like and you almost feel like it's going to be like the Inquisition when things finally go through, because they're like it's going to be, oh, you're like back in the day when you threw all your wax and wood and paper things into the fire when the church leaders were coming through town, because you don't want them to burn him.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you know what I've you know, you show up, oh, you moved in, you accept Jesus as Christ. Well, if I did, I would be Christian, but you don't say it like that, but so you do kind of feel like you don't know what these people what people in whatever neighborhood, especially I think the thing is when you have an irreligious neighborhood. I'm not saying anything particular bad about any, but I don't know, but you know, again, you don't know.
You never know.
And well, I disappear from screen a lot, as you see. My face keeps on going in and out here.
Yeah. And you got little lines running through you.
But it's important.